If you love all things pumpkin spice, you've got to try these vegan and gluten-free pumpkin baked donuts. They're a healthy and delicious way to celebrate fall. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Clean Eating Kitchen. I'm Carrie, and this is my channel where I share easy gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. I have a master's degree in public health nutrition, and I've been eating a real food diet to help manage my autoimmune disease and PCOS for several years now. And baked donuts are one of my favorite desserts of all time. They have the shape and flavor of your favorite fried donuts, but without the grease. And this recipe for vegan baked pumpkin donuts is also made gluten-free. So let's get started making this fall baked donut recipe. We're going to start with a medium-sized mixing bowl, and I'm going to add to the mixing bowl 1 cup of gluten-free flour. Now, there are a ton of really great flour blends on the market now. I really like this one from Bob's Red Mill. It's called 1-to-1 baking flour, gluten-free baking flour, and I will link it in the description below. Next, we're going to add 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. If you just have regular white sugar, you can use that too. But I like coconut sugar because it's slightly lower glycemic than regular sugar. Next, I have a little bowl here with a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, a teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now be sure to check the description box below where I've also linked to the full recipe. I'm going to give these dry ingredients just a little mix together. And we are also going to be making a glaze for these donuts. We'll do that while the donuts are baking. Mix together the dry ingredients, and I made a little well in the center. And now we're going to add our wet ingredients. So we're going to add 1/2 cup of pure pumpkin puree. And of course, we're not looking for pumpkin pie mixture, which also comes in a can, but we're looking for 100% pumpkin puree. Now, some people don't do well with pumpkin, and in that case, you could substitute butternut squash puree or even sweet potato puree. And all of these things you can buy in a can. Or you can actually make them yourself. You can just look online for how to make your own purees. Next, we're going to add a tablespoon of melted coconut oil, 1/2 cup of unsweetened almond milk, and 1 flax egg. You could also use a chia egg, or if you are not egg-free or vegan, you could use a regular egg too. Now, I have been finding lately that I am actually fairly intolerant to eggs. And this can be common for people who have autoimmune disease or PCOS like I do. And how I know this is that I don't feel well after I eat eggs. So if you have that kind of experience, then you might want to try substituting out your eggs, which is really easy to do in these baked kinds of recipes. And also I wanted to mention that egg is a highly allergenic food ingredient. So again, if you're fighting with food sensitivities or allergies, you might just want to try subbing out eggs and see if you feel better. So I've mixed the wet and dry ingredients together, and now I have a little trick for how we're going to get them into our donut molds. So let's talk briefly about these donut trays. I bought them on Amazon. Of course, I will link them below so you can get this exact version. It came in a set of 2, so there are 12 donut wells here, and we are probably only going to use about 10 of them. We'll see when we pour the batter into the molds, but I wanted to mention that I had previously had some silicone donut molds, and I found that I had a really hard time getting the donuts to bake through. And then I found by looking online that silicone is not that great of a heat conductor. So I ended up buying these metal molds, and I've had no problem since. So I did give the donut molds just a quick little spray of nonstick cooking spray. We really want to be careful not to add too much oil because we don't want our baked donuts to be greasy or oily at all. Okay, now for the special tip for how to get the dough into the donut molds. I have a large plastic bag here. Now it has a sharp corner at the end, so you want to make sure you don't have the tapered bags, which are also sometimes available, but we want the sharp corner here. What I'm actually going to do is use this little pitcher and put the bag in here. I want to kind of funnel the batter into the corner. So I put it with the corner at the bottom. and just folded it over. Usually I have my husband help me with this, but he is out working in the garage or doing something, so he's not here right now. So I'm just gonna pour the batter in here. This is a pretty thick batter, but that's good because we want the donuts to cook fairly quickly. Oh, and it smells so good. It smells like the cinnamon, the pumpkin spice, and these donuts are so fun and delicious. They are really just perfect for fall. By the way, you might notice I'm wearing a tank top and I keep saying it's fall, but I live in California, as I mentioned, and it is supposed to be almost 90 degrees today. So I'm already sweating. I have the oven on behind me, so I had to dress appropriately. Now, as you can see, the batter just filled up the plastic bag perfectly, and it's almost like it's a kind of an inexpensive way of having a piping bag, but without the cleanup or the expense. And I do have the oven preheating at 350 degrees. Now, let's go ahead and cut off the tip of this bag. We want to make sure the little plastic does not fall into the donut molds, and we're going to just pipe the batter right in. Now, I like to do a double layer because the donuts aren't going to rise too much because we're using a flax egg. It's not going to give us quite the same lift to the donuts as it would if we used a real egg. So I'm piping in a double layer so the donuts will be nice and thick. And then there's 6. So let's see how many we can get out of this batch. The last time I made these, I got 10. So I'm at 8 right now, and I think that's how much we're gonna have. And the donuts will need to bake. The donuts will need to bake for about 20 to 22 minutes. So it really doesn't take too long. Now I actually, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I had enough for 10. I have a little bit extra, but I don't think I have enough for another full donut. So I'm just gonna maybe fill out a little bit more of the molds here, just to make sure we get nice thick donuts. Nobody wants a skinny little donut because we're gonna put frosting on top, or actually like a little icing on top, and we just want it to be like a really fun, healthy dessert. You can have your kids help you make this. I think that would be really fun. And I am looking forward to making more different flavors. Now that I have a good donut mold, I'm just kind of thinking about all the different flavors of donuts I would like to make. And you might be thinking, Carrie, you're supposed to be healthy. Why are you talking about donuts? But again, these are almost like little cakes, and they are light. They're not too heavy. You could see the ingredients were very wholesome. And I'm a believer that it is kind of a good idea, or it's okay to have a healthy treat every day. I have a sweet tooth, so rather than grabbing for candy or candy bars like I used to in the past, which did not make me feel good, now I make healthier treats and I feel good, and I generally have a fairly easy time maintaining my weight, and I have good energy. And so that is my belief system. So let me know in the comments below how you feel about having healthy desserts on a regular basis. So now I'm going to pop these into the oven for 20 to 22 minutes, and then we'll make the glaze, and then we'll come back when the donuts are finished baking. The donuts have finished baking, and I am letting them cool down on a cooling rack. So let's go ahead and make the little pumpkin flavored glaze that we're going to drizzle on top of the donuts. So I have a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, and I'm going to add that sugar into a small little mixing bowl. Now you can really make all kinds of different glazes that you want for a donut or icings. I just like to make this simple powdered sugar glaze, and I have found that if I just add about a 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, that gives it the flavor that matches the donuts that we've already made. And then I'm going to add just about 2 teaspoons of unsweetened almond milk. And it's amazing. You really only need a really small amount of liquid to make a glaze with your powdered sugar. So don't make the mistake that I have made so many times in adding too much liquid. So I'm just going to stir together the powdered sugar, and it's really the perfect consistency now. So start with a little bit less liquid and add just a little touch bit more if you need to get it to blend easily. I can't wait to show you how these donuts turned out. So what I've done actually is I took a baking sheet and I lined it with parchment paper, and then I put the donuts on a little cooling rack. And this will help when we pour the glaze over the tops of the donuts, then there won't be too much cleanup. So here we have the glaze, and I can either use the whisk or just a little spatula and just kind of drizzle it over the top. And some of it will fall through the cooling rack, that's fine. We're not trying to coat each donut. Actually, you could if you wanted. And if you want to coat the donut, then you would just take it and dip it into the glaze. You can do that too. And I think I'm just going to continue to drizzle it on top. That way you can still see the donut top underneath. Just gives a little added sweetness to each donut, makes them a real treat. This was so much fun making these donuts with you today. I have another recipe for pumpkin spice chia pudding that you might like. That is an even healthier recipe that you could have for breakfast than these donuts. But these are fun too. I'm gonna give them a little taste. Oh wow, these are so good. Tastes like a little pumpkin spice cake, and I love that glaze on top. I know you're going to love this recipe too. Please let me know in the comments if you try it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everybody.